Picture this. You're doing great, right? You're 27, you've got a decent job, a nice apartment, and your savings account is actually starting to grow. Then, boom, out of nowhere, your car breaks down and you are staring at a massive repair bill. A week later, your parents call. They need help with an unexpected medical emergency. And just when you think the dust is finally settled, your company calls a sudden all-hands meeting to announce layoffs. Suddenly, those decent savings you were so proud of, they feel like absolutely nothing. You're completely exposed.
Welcome to today's explainer. Now, if that opening scenario gave you a little spike of anxiety, and honestly it should, take a deep breath. Today, we're mapping out a zero-to-hero roadmap to turn that financial panic into total empowerment. We're going to cover 1. What an emergency fund actually is. 2. How much is enough. 3. Where to park your cash. 4. A step-by-step action plan. And 5. The common mistakes you absolutely have to avoid.
Because, it really all comes down to this one stark question. If you lose your job tomorrow, how long can you actually survive? It's literally the single biggest fear keeping young professionals awake at night. Okay, let's dive into this and build your financial safety net.
All right, Section 1. What exactly is an emergency fund?
So an emergency fund isn't just your regular everyday savings account where you toss your spare change. It is a dedicated, locked-down account used only for unexpected, urgent, and necessary expenses. Think of it like a magical shield. Its entire purpose is to protect you from life's unpredictable curveballs. Remember, this is definitely not your general savings pool.
We really have to draw a strict boundary here. There's a massive difference between true emergencies and fake ones. True emergencies are things like sudden medical crises, losing your job, or an urgent repair to your home or car that you literally can't put off. These things threaten your actual livelihood. Fake emergencies? That's buying the latest smartphone, a spontaneous weekend vacation, or a highly predictable annual insurance premium. Here's the rule. If an expense is not urgent, necessary, and unexpected, it doesn't touch this fund, period. Moving on to Section 2. How much is actually enough? I know calculating this can cause a bit of sticker shock at first, but stick with me.
Here's the golden rule you need to memorize right now. 3 to 6. You need 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses saved up. And notice I emphasize the word essential. We are keeping all your discretionary fun spending completely out of the math for this. So what exactly makes the cut for that essential bucket? We're talking about your rent or your home loan EMI. We're talking basic groceries, utility bills to keep the lights and internet on, your bare minimum transport costs, health and life insurance premiums, and any minimum debt payments you have just to keep the banks off your back. That is literally it. Dining out, movie nights, shopping trips, yeah, those definitely don't make the cut when a disaster strikes. Now, translating that 3 to 6 month rule into your actual reality doesn't have to be overwhelming. It really depends on your specific situation. For example, if you're an entry-level worker making around $25K, your target might be roughly $60K. If you're mid-level making $60K, you're aiming for a 2.4 lakh shield. Or maybe you're a freelancer with an irregular income of $80K. You'd want a thicker buffer, maybe around 4.5 lakhs. The biggest takeaway here is that building this safety net takes time. It can take anywhere from 1 to 3 years to fully fund it, and that is perfectly normal. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
All right, Section 3. Where should you actually park this money? Let's look at the menu of options.
When you're figuring out where to store your emergency cash, you have to evaluate 3 vital criteria. First, and most importantly, safety. Your principal amount absolutely must be protected. No stock market gambles, no crypto. Second is liquidity. You need to be able to access this cash within 24 to 48 hours without getting hit by massive penalties. And third, returns. A little bit of interest is nice to have, sure, but it is entirely secondary. Safety and liquidity are absolutely non-negotiable. So choosing the right vehicle is crucial. A standard savings account? Well, it gives you instant liquidity via ATM or UPI with incredibly high safety. But the returns are terrible. It's best for keeping just maybe 1 month of expenses handy. Fixed deposits, on the other hand, offer much better 7 to 8% returns and high safety, which makes them perfect for locking in the bulk of your fund. Then you've got liquid mutual funds, recurring deposits, and short-term debt funds. These all offer different balances of access and growth depending on your timeline and your personal discipline. But honestly, if you want the absolute sweet spot strategy, here it is. Keep exactly 1 month of your essential expenses in a highly liquid savings account. Then, park the rest of the fund in a liquid mutual fund or fixed deposit. This is a game changer because it perfectly balances instant access for, say, a sudden hospital deposit with slightly better interest rates for the heavy bulk of your safety net.
Section 4. The step-by-step action plan to build this from zero.
We can break this whole intimidating task down into 4 really simple, immediate actions that you can literally take today. Step 1, calculate your target using that essential expenses rule we just talked about. Step 2, open a completely separate, dedicated bank account. Go ahead and name it something like Safety Net, and whatever you do, do not mix it with your everyday spending money. Step 3, automate a monthly transfer so you remove the temptation to skip a month. Treat it like a mandatory bill that you owe to yourself. And step 4, if you ever have to dip into it for a real emergency, make it your absolute top priority to replenish it the second you're back on your feet.
And finally, Section 5, common mistakes to avoid so you can protect that shield.
Let's rapid fire through these warnings because they are absolutely critical. Do not invest your emergency fund in crypto, real estate, or the stock market. Seriously, imagine losing 50% of your safety net right when a recession hits and you lose your job. No way. Don't stop at just 1 or 2 weeks of savings. That's just not enough to survive a real sustained crisis. Don't use it for a spontaneous vacation or a fancy dinner out. Don't leave it empty after you use it. And finally, don't exclude your partner. If you're sharing a life together, your emergency fund needs to cover both of your combined expenses. Have that conversation with them today.
We're nearing the end of our explainer, and I want to share a quote that perfectly captures our core takeaway. The most important thing is to start. Even 500 rupees per month is better than zero. You see, consistency always beats quantity when you're just getting started. If you get a random bonus at work or a tax refund comes in, toss 50% of it straight in there to speed things up. Your emergency fund doesn't need to be built overnight, it just needs to start. Which brings us to our final thought. Next month is always a year away. Will you start today? An emergency fund isn't just a boring pile of money sitting in a bank account somewhere. It is literal peace of mind. It's the ability to face whatever crazy thing life throws at you. A layoff, a sudden medical bill, a massive repair, without going into crushing debt or having to beg for help. Your future self is depending heavily on the actions you take right now. So calculate your target, open that separate account, and set up your very first transfer today. Stay protected, stay smart, and thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.